And Chris, we'll start with you.
Hi, Coach. So Killian got off to a little bit of a tough start at last weekend's duel, dropping 2 close 1-point decisions. So what did you say to him, this week in practice to get him sort of, back on the winning track? And what did you talk to him about this week and what he needs to improve upon going into this weekend?
He didn't wrestle bad at all. And the Virginia Tech kid's very good, and he had a takedown, very close to a takedown at the end of the match, to win it. And that kid's a top 10 ranked kid in some polls. So he's not far off. I think he just has to do more. He has to just attack more and be a little bit more aggressive. It's not like he went out and laid an egg. He just didn't quite do enough. And I think, with the preparation he has and he works so hard, I think he just has to do more during the match.
Thanks.
Next question's from Kevin.
Coach, question about Cale Bray. He's still in the rankings, didn't wrestle this last weekend. What's his status for this weekend?
Caleb was out for a while. So he's been working out the last, 3 weeks or so. So he hasn't wrestled off. He's going to get some exhibition matches this weekend, and then wrestle off the following weekend. So he's kind of just coming back. He looks pretty good in practice. We won't see him against Bucknell or Oklahoma unless Jeff gets hurt, but we will see him this weekend, getting an exhibition or two.
And you had mentioned the preseason, obviously with the condensed schedule, hurting wrestlers, backups, people competing for spots because you didn't have those extra chances. So you did get a number, at least some exhibition matches in last weekend. Is that the plan for, additional meets going forward? And can you do that in Big 12 matches?
It is the plan. This weekend, I think we'll get, our team might get 4, 5, 6, 8 matches. I don't know, whatever we can get. And it just depends, we're not going to fly out a ton of people to say Oklahoma State just to get extra matches. But if we have some key guys that we want, we're starting to get a little bit of depth where some guys are pretty similar. I mentioned Jeff and Caleb at 141. They're both pretty good young kids. And we want to get them as many matches as we can, but definitely this weekend. And we're going to try to get as many extras as we can.
We'll go back to Chris.
So this last weekend, we saw Hall off to a great start, 3-0, and actually surge into the rankings as a true freshman. But you didn't exactly seem surprised by what he's been able to do. And so what is it that you're seeing from him in the wrestling room every week that, in terms of his mentality, where he can go out there against a ranked opponent in just his second college match and get a very big 9-0 win over a ranked opponent? So what is it about him and sort of his, fearless mentality, if you will, to, not, be intimidated by that this young into his career?
What we see in practice is, we see a talented guy. I mean, he has a great feel for wrestling. So he can do some things that we just can't teach him. He floats well. He just feels it. Far better than I ever did, and probably the staff. But, we see like what he brings every day as far as his intensity to the practice room, every practice. So he's always in there button heads. So you're like, wow, this guy's going to be hard to beat for a lot of guys right away. Now he didn't get a chance to wrestle, Mekhi Lewis from BT, but he's going to have his hands full this weekend. The Oklahoma kid's a good young kid. I think he's ranked 30th or something. And then the Hartman kid from Bucknell's, I think, a top 10 guy. So, but that's what we see. We see it every day. He competes every day, and he has such a great attitude and a great feel for wrestling.
We'll go back to Kevin.
Tim, looking at the rankings and the teams that you're facing so far, you got a couple wins against teams that were like right around the 50 mark. Bucknell looks like they're right around there. Then you go up to top 25 teams. How big is that gap there from, say 50 to 20, 25? And what do you have to do to get to the point where you can get wins against that next tier of opponents?
It's a good gap. I mean, it's a pretty big gap. You saw it, how Virginia Tech handled, I guess, the three teams they wrestled this weekend, and they're a top 10 team. It's a pretty big gap. What do we have to do? We have to just keep training. I think we've got, I keep saying we had some of the athletes in here that we want and need. Our team is, talent is growing. We just have to keep wrestling. Again, it's hard to get them better if there's, at the beginning of the year, you're not allowed to do this. You can't practice. Now it's like there's no open tournaments. You can't get. So we just have to continue to try to develop them in practice and get them as many matches as we can. And then it's just a matter of time. We're trying to bridge that gap and make it, shorten the time from, this level to this level, but we're climbing. I don't know the actual time frame, but we're getting there.
Finally, something I should have asked you last week. Football has the trust the climb mantra. Do you have one for your team? Do you have something or a message that you consistently are reinforcing?
Yeah, my message is I don't want to wait to win. All right. I try to tell our guys, I understand there's a difference when you are an immature young man and you're wrestling. In the sport of wrestling, there's no schemes like with teams. You can be the sum of the parts can be greater. In wrestling, it's just like you're out against one guy and then I'm out against one guy. I just keep trying to tell them they can win as freshmen, though. You're allowed. You're allowed to. I've seen it done. I see it happen every year. You see it like a Spencer Lee from Iowa or someone win the nationals as a freshman. So is it that crazy that Peyton Hall can beat the number 9 guy this weekend? No, it's not that crazy. So, while we're, we have a pretty good feel for where we are, but I think they can win right away. So, yeah, trust the climb. We do trust the climb, but I want to climb right now. We're tired of losing.
Next question is from Chris.
So you have a very youthful roster right now, and this question may be a bit premature, but have you had sort of the conversations with some of these guys on your roster right now about utilizing that sort of free year that this could turn out to be, so that, down the line, you're going to have a very, instead of it being the youthful roster that it is now, thinking 3-4 years down the line, it could be a very senior laden roster. Have you kind of had those conversations with some of these guys looking that far ahead?
We haven't talked about the future, but we certainly talked about this year. Like everybody's, available to us because there's no red shirt. It's a free year. Everybody's red shirting, right? Everybody is the same class next year as they are this year. So everyone's available. There's still some things that can happen with our lineup. I know not this weekend, the following weekend, we're going to have wrestle-offs at 33. We have, Siebert and Joe Thomas were in some tight matches. Ryan Sullivan's going to go down to that weight. We may have something going on at 49. There's just some weights that are just unsettled. So we've encouraged them to just keep competing, get yourself into that lineup. But long-term, no, we're swimming over here. We're trying to, or tread water rather, it's, I haven't had much time to think about down the road. I'm thinking about, tomorrow's practice.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Coach Flynn? All right, guys, thanks for your time today.